Today's guest is a staple of the Phillipsburg community and a guardian of a 60-year culinary legacy. He represents Nicolosi's Pizza, a family owned and operated powerhouse that has been tossing pies and serving North Jersey since 1964. Whether you know him from the shop on Corliss Avenue or you've seen their craft all over Instagram, he's here to talk about what it takes to keep a family business thriving for 6 decades, daily from 11 to 10. Please welcome from Nicolosi's, Angelo.
How are you guys?
Angelo, thank you so much for being on today.
It's my pleasure. This is really cool.
Yeah, I admire you guys so much. I've been following you on Instagram and you know, you've been there. You've been through it. Your family has, and I want to hear how you guys got into pizza and how your pizzeria started.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I'll backtrack a little bit. So my grandfather started our business in 1964 here, but he started actually in New York. When he
Wow.
immigrated to the United States, he moved to New York and he learned the pizza industry by his brother. Actually, he moved to California for a very short time and he started making pizza. As things went on, and the ups and downs of the world with how things go, he started off as a longshoreman, believe it or not. And then he got into pizza when he had enough money saved up where he could get into it. And he wasn't successful right away, but that's something he was very passionate about doing. And through a lot of ups and downs, good and bads, he got into it. And he had his first pizza shop in Brooklyn, which he then followed another location later on in Queens, New York, in Jamaica Avenue, which I'm very affluent with. And then it was a very difficult time. He was actually one of his pizza guys he worked with was a guy named Salvatore Ruffino, who his son actually now runs a pizza shop. You may be familiar in Pennsylvania, and they had this idea. They wanted to get a better place. Things were different back then. There was a lot of organized crime and other things going on, and there were some scary moments that happened in that location. So my grandfather goes to this wedding in the Lehigh Valley before anyone knows it as what it is today. And there was a sign that wanted a pizza shop where our mall is now, where we're working out of. And it was an old fashioned strip mall, not like the indoor malls that wasn't really evolving yet at the time. And they wanted a guy that was going to have a little pizza shop. And that was the story. So, long story short, he had it, and, it was very small. He had, like, 3 or 4 tables. No one really sat in it unless it would be, like, you going on a date with, like, your boyfriend or if you're bringing your son or daughter here, like, there wasn't a lot of tables. It was just a pizza shop, and the truth to the matter is he basically invented pizza to the Lehigh Valley, and it wasn't a thing around here. There were other pizza shops, but it's not how you and I know it as. What was very popular around here was they would make a pie and cook it, like, halfway. I'm kinda like one of the ones you'd see in, like, the supermarket where it's, like, pre-cooked, and then you'd go
Yeah,
do the
part
rest,
big.
doctor it up, yeah, and do the rest yourself, and, the rest is history. It kinda just took off, and we are very I tell people we're spoiled, we're blessed, we what you call we just do pizza, literally. It's Neapolitan and Sicilian, and that's as far as it goes. Now we have made some changes with things over time. But the truth of the matter is with our location, and I think you with your family, you can probably agree with me on this. Everyone's afraid of change, right? Well, you can change, but when you're dealing with an older business, you have to be very cautious with some of the things that you do change because something small could turn into something big. And you either may not be able to handle that, or in the big picture, it may change your entire product. So you kind of don't want to go down that route either. Yeah, that's the gist of it, really.
Wow, that's an incredible story because we have so many similarities. Do you know where your grandfather was from in Italy?
I do. I actually go back to Italy quite a few times in a year. He's from a little town called Trecastagni, which is basically in the province of Catania. A lot of people know it where the Mount Etna is because it erupts multiple times a year and is live and very active on a frequent basis. So yes, and I still have cousins and relatives over there that have come to visit, and we go over there to visit. But he comes from a very poor town. And there's things I'm sure you can relate to as well. Sicily is beautiful. It's a wonderful island. But at the end of the day, the problem is that at that time, he lived through World War II. So, like, as much as you and I can probably relate to some of the funnier things that have happened in the world and
Yeah.
how maybe your father thought or grandfather thought, we never lived through times like that
No.
as our ages. And they did. And many times, and I'm sure you've heard the story as well, sometimes dinner was a toasted piece of bread with a little bit of oil and salt if you were lucky. Like there was no that was a meal. So when like we'd laugh and like we couldn't talk at the dinner table or you ate first and then like you never dropped anything or threw food, like you never wasted food, like and we laugh because everything has to be like extra fresh, right? Like you have to go to the store like every day and buy like a quarter pound of salami or a quarter pound of prosciutto or something. Like we laugh because today, like if you have a family of like five or six, you just get a pound of everything and just eat it for a. But when you live through those difficult times, you kind of have to understand the logistics of why they thought the way that they thought, you know?
Yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right because I remember my grandfather at night at the end of the pizza shop shift, there would be extra pizza and he was like, never throw it away. He would keep that pizza and he would literally eat it. And I would see him like almost the next day, like putting it back in the oven. And I was kind of like, because like they were like constantly like, eat, 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 to
Or no, no,
us.
no,
But
absolutely, because you don't know when your last meal is gonna be, hypothetically speaking. Because if there is a war or there is an economy crash and people don't have money most recently, we just lived through COVID, I mean, there are people that benefited from this, but there was a lot more people that didn't, that did, and, you kinda have to give back to the community, and, like, for us, we gave a lot of things away to people that were, service people in the industry, whether it was EMS or the police department. I mean, we're right next to a, hospital, so when the nurses came in there, I mean, we did a lot of things for the community, and look, you have to give back, but there's also a fine line too, right? Where you can't just be giving stuff away. Like I will tell you at the end of the night, like I always drive by a gas station or I'll drive by a place where I know that people are looking for food or something like that. And you try not to get too consistent with going in the same spot because before you know it, like you're an underprivileged lady or homeless or something of that nature. And then the next time you go back there, like you brought like 10 of your friends and they're like, oh, what about me, 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 me? So you have to
yeah,
slow it down a little bit and just be cautious about some of those things. But look, I mean, when you grew up like we did, apparently, like, you always do have to give back because what goes around does come around. And in the pizza world, I tell everybody it's like the baseball world. And I was a scout and I coached for a living for a very long time before I got back into business full time. And you
hmm,
got to understand something like a baseball game's 9 innings. It's never gonna start the way it's gonna finish, and it's never gonna finish the way it started, and there is no guarantees on anything, and there's ups and downs, right? Like, for January, most of the food industry and bars and clubs and vacation things, January is a slow month usually.
yeah,
For us, we're in a large Catholic community. I mean, yesterday was Ash Wednesday. Like, we're still very blessed because in our Catholic community, like people still abide by those rules of not eating meat during Lent. So Fridays now are absolutely insane. But like you balance that out, and how people look at it is, and I'm sure you see it in your industry as well. When you have your business, like everyone sees what they want to see, but they don't know, right? Like, oh, we just do pizza. It's so easy. Well, no, it's not. Like you're coming in here
yeah,
and you're making your mix, you're doing your dough. It's got to raise, and little things. And I've learned more. There's a good friend of mine in the industry that into the distributing part of things, and he has said there's always something to learn, and it's true. In baseball, they always just say, if you think you know everything, that's the day you're going to find something crazy happening. You don't know everything. Well, what are you going to do if you're really busy and like your dough hasn't raised enough? Like, what are you going to do if something happened and you're showing someone how to make dough and they put it away too early and that thing's a brick? Like, you got to adjust. And one of the most valuable things my grandfather taught me years ago is this: I want you to go to school. I never want you to be a pizza man. I don't. Learn another trade, learn something else because they weren't fortunate enough to go to school. It was learned by seeing and doing, and they couldn't afford to go to college. But I'm just letting you know, no matter what teacher, and he said it a little differently, you can use your imagination. You're going to learn more behind that counter than you do on the other side of the counter. I'm just letting you know. And it holds true. I mean, every day, I mean, and owning a small business, you have to react. I can't tell you countless times something happened. We had to postpone a vacation, or we were supposed to go home and all eat dinner at 8 o'clock, and like a guy didn't come in, or the walk-in box died, and like they had to do use a compressor. Or, we used gas ovens. Maybe one of the gas ovens didn't. The pilot went out, or somebody couldn't get it going and needed to get cleaned. So like we have a other couple ovens. So how do you rotate your spots in your oven? And only the people working behind the counter know that, but it's easy to
yeah,
explain it, but once you do it in the heat of the moment and sweat becomes a topping, like you see what I'm saying? Like you have to adjust to those things because the phone's going to ring and the door's going to keep opening and you have to react and respond to those customers. And the last thing you want to do is, I'm sorry, we don't know what we're doing. You have to go somewhere else. You don't want to be in that situation.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many things that you mentioned that really parallel my upbringing and my life too. It's very strange, the similarities of different things and what you go through as a pizzeria owner. And can you kind of tell me, growing up in an Italian family, what were some of the traditions and things that you guys stuck to, like kind of being in the pizza business?
So Sunday was always family day. So we were always open 7 days a week, but we only closed 5 days a year, pending a terrible weather catastrophe, really bad snowstorm. And things have changed over the years too, with insurance and government and accidents and stuff, because we deliver also, and we do our own in-house delivery service. So the deal is that sometimes when you do close, like I will be honest with you, in a snowstorm, the phone's gonna ring like crazy, right? But there's a fine line between making money and being crazy. One of your drivers gets into an accident, slips, and it may not be his fault, or someone hurts him or something like that. You got to think of the big picture. So sometimes that, but the logic was always, if you close, you're giving the opportunity for someone else to open another business. Now, for a very long time, we really didn't have competition in this area. I mean, I joke around with people all the time. When we started delivering, I was a little kid. We were
Yeah.
delivering Allentown. I mean, from Allentown to our neck of the woods, I mean, that's like a half-hour drive. Like that's a span. Now we've changed significantly in the in the mileage since then on where we go and don't go. And obviously, you make some adjustments if it's a larger order. It's got to make sense. That's how it was. Christmas Day, we've always been closed, and we've closed early Christmas Eve. Every Christmas, we have the Feast of the Seven Fishes. And how it goes is that's not a Sicilian tradition. It's a Naples tradition, and my grandmother was from Naples. So we did all the clams. And the funny part is to this day, because I have relatives, like I said, and I go back there a lot. Some things are more Italian in the United States, believe it or not, than they actually are in the homeland. For example, most people do not have the Feast of the Seven Fishes. In Naples, it's very popular because that's where it originated from.
Yeah.
However, I mean, if you live in Sicily or if you live in northern Italy or something like that, they do stick to tradition, but it's not all seven. You'll have one of two fishes. You'll have a bacala, you'll have salmon, you'll have something else. You're not going the full, like what we do here in the States. Every very authentic Italian family does that. And they'll mix it up.
Yeah.
They'll do a lobster, they'll do a crab cake. They always have like a supplemented different fish, right? But I go back there and tell people this, and they're like, we don't even do that. Like it's just different. So that's what we always do. For New Year's, we would always have a New Year's Eve when we close the pizza store early, which is actually a very busy day. Going back to the make some common sense out of things, we've always closed early on New Year's, and we've always been closed New Year's Day.
Yeah.
My grandfather, when he was still alive, always felt very fearful that, look, it's a party day. It's no secret. Everyone's going to drink, whether they're doing it legally or illegally underage. Is it really worth it to have a crazy day and you make crazy money, and then at the end of the night, you're taking your last delivery and someone gets killed by a drunk driver? It's just
Yeah.
not, and and listen, it could happen right now, but you're playing it smart, right? Like, hell, especially during COVID. I mean, you live in Pennsylvania. I mean, Pennsylvania people were coming crossing the bridge because we're on the border, and they were going to liquor stores here like crazy. I mean, situations like that, are they really worth it? Eric, I don't. You can fight yes, and I can fight no, but at the end of the day, you're better safe than sorry, right?
I
So my
agree.
father would for New Year's Eve would cook he still does lentil soup, because for lentil
Hmm.
soup, obviously that you're bringing good luck to a new year and a more prosperity and all this other jazz. So that's that. And then during New Year's Day, we just try to eat something else other than Italian, like a meat dish or a pork dish or something else, because obviously you're eating pasta 700 days. I mean, 365 days a year, and pizza and everything else. So that's that. During Lent, we my grandfather loved animals, but this is really funny. So we would we'd always have lamb or goats for Easter. And
Hmm.
to this day, in the right part of Sicily, I mean, they do what he used to do. I mean, they would know the farm or whatever, they'd go buy one, and they would always want to go see it literally get slaughtered, because they want to make sure they did it the right way, which I think is a little crazy. But I don't know if there's truth to this or it's an old wives' tale. If that animal knows that you're going to kill it, like they're going to tense up, and that meat's not going to be good to eat. Like for sure, it could be the big lamb, but it's not.
I've heard that.
We still do that. It's gruesome. I've seen it myself. It's not a pretty sight, but they did it for the right reasons. I'm not a hunter myself. I've gone hunting with friends of mine in the past. You know, I've always believed if you're doing it for the right cause, it's not a big deal. And that's that. 4th of July, we've always been closed. That's an American holiday. It's still hot dogs, hamburgers, and stuff like that. And then for Thanksgiving, obviously it's American holiday, and you know, you need to have some family time too. And Eric, if you can't do that, I mean, what's the point? I mean, especially now, and I mean this respectfully, we're not struggling as a family like it was when my grandparents came to the United States. I mean, my father's told me many, many stories. They didn't go on
Yeah.
vacations. I mean, a vacation would be go visit your grandfather's sister, or his cousin came from Italy and like they stayed in the house. And it's so crazy how things have changed. I remember going up visiting my cousins in Massachusetts, and my father had a Caprice at the time, and they sat all four of us in the car in a back seat with my cousin and my aunt and my mom and my father. And like now, you listen to these people, you can't. I mean, you're a mother and you have two kids and a husband, and you can't fit in an SUV, and you need to like an Escalade because it's got more space. And I'm like, God Almighty! Like we didn't move. Like we could. Like we went on like one bathroom break from here to Boston, and
Yep.
God forbid, if you gotta go, like, and we're not off the on Massachusetts Turnpike, like, you're holding it till you get to Aunt Gracie's house, like, Zia's waiting for us, so it's like, "Oh my god." So, I mean, times are just different, that's all I can tell you, it's different. There was no such thing as leg room, like, adults in the front seat, you're in the back, and God, wait, if you don't wear your seatbelt, it's okay. Just hold each other tight. But that was how it was. We take
Yeah.
trips down the Jersey Shore, and it was the same thing. Like you went down for the day, came back. Today, you look at it as no, you have to at least spend 2 days. It was a different time. It was just, it was crazy.
Yeah. No, it was. We had 5 kids in my family, and we had 12 to 15 people in a Nissan van at all times, and there was people, like, sitting on the floor, and, like, it didn't matter.
Oh yeah, and sleepover houses. I mean, you're lucky you had a sleeping bag. Normally, you just had a bunch of blankets, and you're sleeping on a on tile or a wood floor. Forget about a couch. Yeah. It was nuts, but your kids, you don't need that. Your backs are fine. Like your grandma has to go up there, like your aunt needs to go up there, and it's like you just look back on it. But I will tell you this, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Erica. Like it made you who you are today, and it's made me who
Yeah.
I am today. And it's just crazy because like I take that into a dinner rush. Like people are like, "Well, how long are you telling someone for 10 minutes for like a pickup?" And they're like, "Well, you have like all these orders." I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Like you just adjust. People want to see the action." Like I joke around with people. Friday nights here are a circus. I tell people if you like Broadway, you don't need to pay for a ticket. You just need to buy pie. Like we're yelling and screaming and swearing in different languages and things are crazy and people come to see that. Like you're smacking
Yeah.
dough, like you're stretching dough. And the only pizza place I can tell you that I've seen in my lifetime, and I've gone to my favorites, I do, is in the Las Vegas hotel in the Cosmopolitan. They do what we do on Friday nights a little bit more
Mhm.
frequently because of their location. It's called Secret Pizza. And we have a person on the register. We have a person pulling pies and slices. We have a person stretching the dough. And we have a person making the pies and throwing them in the oven. And we have 4 ovens. So it gets a little hairy back there. And we got rules. You're not allowed to go behind the counter and things like that. And people know like it's a danger zone back there. And all we're doing is pizza, mind you. So imagine like that's how it's working. And it's really crazy. Really, really crazy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I grew up in the same craziness, and I thrive on it too, and I wanted you to tell me if you remember, like, a story or something of you growing up in the pizzeria, like, being a kid and something you might always remember that you want people to know about.
I will never forget. So I when we were kids, times were different. My both of my parents were working, and I was always here with the pizza guys. And summers for us were like you go to work. Like we played sports, but when you're not, you're going back to work. And I
Yeah.
carried that into my career when I was doing my little baseball gig. And the one thing I will never forget is like people would always break my grandfather's chops, and they'd be like, "Mr. Ghost, you have so much money. What are you doing here all the time? What are you doing here all the time?" And he believes in the same beliefs that he did in Sicily growing up. When you own your own mom and pop business, you have to be there 24 hours a day. Now, there's exceptions and stuff like that, but you don't know what's going to happen when you leave. Now, we're a cash only establishment, so you always have to have eyes and ears on everything else. And he did. And my favorite story with my grandfather, God, it kills me. There was a guy once again, Erica, he lived through World War II, right? So like everything, water, gas, electric, food, everything came at, you have to be very cautious with where everything comes from, where it goes, where's your money going, and everything else. So this guy's
Yeah.
washing dishes, and we have one of those things. I'm sure you have them in your pizza shop. You go back to the kitchen where all the dough machine is and everything else, and you have the sink that has the little dividers. So you have the dishes rinsing in the soap all day, or when you clean them, whatever, you let soak them there and you wash them. Okay. And then you put it in the middle sink, all scrubbed. You don't rinse them yet. and you gotta use hot water. Okay. And then the other two, then you let them drip dry. You don't dry it. You drip dry it. Stainless steel. You don't waste the rag on that. Okay, fine. So there's this one guy we had at the time. His name was Frank. It was funny as hell, and he loved my grandfather. My grandfather loved him. So he goes over there and he washes his dish and he turns the hot water on, and the hot water is running. And my grandfather had this thing. Every Sicilian guy to this day does it. It's so funny. They put their hand over their wrist, but they wrap it around their back and they bend over and they stare at you. So it's like, "Hi, Erica," and like you're looking at me and you're like, "Hi, Angelo." And he says, "Oh, Mr. Nicolosi, how are you?" He goes, "I'm good, Frank. How are you?" And he goes, "Hey, Frank," he says, "I have a question." Now the water's still running, mind you, running. And I didn't know this right away, but later on I found it out and I heard the rest of the story. He had the light on in the bathroom. So now the light's on and the water's running and it's hot water. So he says, "Hey, Frank, do I work for you or do you work for me?" He looked at, because I was there with him. I was there with him, but he's so calm and he's so nice. But my grandfather's a very stern guy. And he says, "Well, you work for me, Frank." And he goes, "Angelo, did you hear that? Frank works for me. Frank works for me." I said, "Yeah, no, no, I get it." And I don't know where he's going. So I don't want to answer it wrong because he's going to yell at me. And he says, "Good." He goes, "Well, Frank, let me ask you a question. Would you like it if I worked for you one day?" And like now he's like looking, by the way, the water's still running and the light in the bathroom is still on. And
Oh,
he says, "Well, I don't know." Like he doesn't know how to answer it. And he's thinking to himself, "Oh crap, like what did I do?" And he says, "Good. That's what I thought, Frank. I'm not going to work for you one day." He goes, "But when you work for me," he goes, you work, you rinse the dish, you scrub the dish, and then you rinse it with hot water, and then you put it over there." And he goes, "And you turn the water off." So now at this point in time, the dishes are all done. He goes, "Okay, Mr. Nicolosi." And he goes, "Frank, turn the water off." He goes, "You mean now?" And he looks at me. He goes, "Yes, now." And he's screaming and he's grabbing his hand. He's doing this right in the thing. And it's hilarious. And I'm laughing. And he goes, "You get out of here. Stop laughing." But like while I walked in the back room and I walked out front, he goes, "Mr. Ghost, I'm really sorry." He goes, "It's okay, Frank. Don't let it happen again." He goes, "Hey, by the way, Frank," he goes, "when you leave your house, do you leave the front door open at night?" He goes, "No, Mr. Nicolosi, I shut the lights off and I locked the door." He goes, "Frank, good. This is my house. Shut the light." And it was priceless. It doesn't, I can't imitate it the way that it happened, but it was like he cared so much about his business that like every single dime mattered. Every single thing that came in, he knew about. And I'll be honest with you, Eric, I'm sure you see this yourself. You and I would never have to work in the pizza shop ever for the rest of our lives. You could sit in your pizza shop and just sit there, and you will learn so much just by taking it in and watching. And it's
yeah.
just it's crazy. And it's very truth because I'm here now. Basically, some days a week, my off days, I'm here, and I just see things. And there's nothing wrong with checking your homework as a teacher tells you, which my mother was. And there's nothing wrong with just following up, making sure things happen. We have very good employees. I have very good kids that have come from nothing and they've made something of themselves through here, but they never forget. I mean, I got a kid right now who's not a kid. He's 30 years old, I think. And James called me the other day and he says, "I'm an architect now in Ohio. But you know what I miss? I miss working Friday night rushes." He's like, "I really do." He's like yelling and screaming and breaking stuff. Like it happens. And that kind of like puts a smile on my face because like they know where they came from. And I think in a world today with technology, how things worked out, I mean, you'll laugh. I don't know if you guys deliver, but what would a business do right now that delivers without a GPS? I know my local streets. You know your local streets. We'd explain, "Hey, Erica, drive down South Main Street, make a right, go up the hill. It's the third house on the right hand side. They deliver every week. They get two pies twice a week." Now it's like they have the GPS and they can't figure it out. It's a one-way street. They don't know. And I'm like, it's wild. I mean, we're a cash establishment. I mean, we have to teach our kids. This is crazy. How to count change. It's wild. Now, President Trump now has got rid of the penny. Everyone's going crazy. That may not be gone in our lifetimes, but because he said no more pennies, now everyone's like, "Well, don't worry about the penny." I'm like, "Okay, but it's making it easier for you. You don't have to go on pennies and cents to get to the next one. You're at a five already." What's common sense no more is a lost art. And if you have common sense, you're a rare commodity today. But I think
Yeah.
working behind a counter in a pizzeria, Erica, I think forces you to have common sense. You know, you guys have screwed up pizzas. We screwed up pizzas. You wanted all pepperoni. We made you half, but you want the all pepperoni. Okay, sell that for slice and give the guy a discount. "Sir, we're not going to charge you for the topping. We're just going to charge you for regular one." People look at me like, "How did you come up with that?" Well, you want to throw in the garbage? I mean, you want to use that product, so get something for nothing. I mean, nothing goes to waste. Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself. Your grandfather would be eating the leftover slices. I mean, they didn't have a lot of food. So, like, you have to understand the nature. And for me, relating this to you, we grew up in the same world, but like we could talk to someone tomorrow that has no knowledge on pizza, no knowledge on Italy, and more importantly, no knowledge on the industry itself. And they're going to think you and I are crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
100%, and I have run into that, especially being in this industry now.
yes. And now you, and then you go talk to like your father or grandma or someone related to you, and you're like, this is what so and so said. And they're stupid. Like, they don't get it. They're dumb. Like, I tell everybody, it's like making dough, right? Anybody can make dough. It's a very simple concept. You just put water, salt, sugar, yeast, and do it. But you got to touch it. It's got to be the right temperature. You got to feel for it. You got to let it sit long enough. You got to let it rise. There's always every reaction has every reaction has an opposite reaction if not done properly. You get what I'm talking about? It's a pizza thing, right?
Absolutely. It's a pizza thing. So, speaking of, what do you love the most about making pizza?
It's an art. It's an absolute art. Like, I love when someone comes in there and they'll come in the pizza shop and they'll want this and they'll want that and they'll want all these different things. And not on the regular, because after this post and you post this podcast, I'm gonna have a line of people wanting free slices and stuff. But like, if people come here for the first time, our
Yeah.
community right now is a very large. A lot of people are migrating from the cities because it's a lot more affordable out here. It's not obviously the city life and everything else, and it's cheaper taxes, cheaper living, and everything else. And all the pizza sucks, and they've gone here, they've gone there, and everything else. Well, if they come in there and they order a couple slices, and let's say they don't have cash and they don't want to use an ATM for whatever God given reason, I'll just give it to them. It gives me no greater pleasure than a pie that I made for you to come in here and eat a slice. And they're like so baffled that they're going to come back the next day to pay me. And at that point in time, I don't
Yeah.
care because I already gained a customer and there's nothing you can do. Now, you can screw up a business too. Now, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's very hard to build a business, but you know what's even harder, Erica? Maintaining consistency. Because say you're telling your friend that how great our pizza is, right? And you've never gotten a bad
Mhm.
pie. Well, I'm the third generation now running the show. Listen, I poison people, I burn every pizza, I do everything. And I just flip the script and tell people, is this the first time you ever got a bad pie? Yeah, your father and uncle never did it. Your grandfather and your great uncle never did it. The other guy that worked here for 50 years never did it. I go, so wait a second, let's back up. So I burned the hell out of your pie. Yes. Okay. So we've been here for 62 years and that's your first bad one. Yes. I said, well, that's really good. I feel pretty good about it because I'm going to give you a free pie. And if we burn the next one another 62 years, that's a pretty damn good ratio. And like, they want to fight. It's also harder too because we're in a social media world, right? You get a bad pie,
Yeah.
you take a picture of it, you put it on the internet and say how bad it sucks and everything else. I can't fix my problem if you don't give me an opportunity to fix it. And there's also an
Yep.
opposite to that too, Erica. There are certain people that you are never going to please. There was a customer that came into your pizza shop that there was too much cheese, there's too little cheese, there's too the sauce, there's never anything you're going to do to please them. And look, everybody has a line. I'm sure your family's crossed it, and I've crossed it too. There is always a line where someone's going to cross, and you're just not going to put up with it, and you just can't please that person and say, please take your business somewhere else. Because when there's one spot of a dark piece of cheese on a pie that's not supposed to be well done, but the bottom's light, or it's light just the way you want it, but there's one black spot on that pie. Well, I will tell you, this is what you're getting, and if you don't like it, don't come back. Like, there is a point, and you try. Every president of the United States has usually said, in some form or fashion, war should be the ultimate last resort because things happen that aren't supposed to happen. Families are broken up; it causes problems. You don't. That's the war for me is having a customer come in there and you telling them, "Don't ever come back." Because once again, you don't know what that person knows, who he knows or she knows, or who he's going to talk to. You could lose other
Yeah.
customers out of this too, and it may have a domino effect. That is the ultimate war for a pizza guy. Try not to do that. There's always a solution, but sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes you don't have a solution, and that sucks. But it is what it is.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that. Now, can you tell me in terms of, what does the future look like? Like, do you go back to Italy and are you like, okay, we're adding on? Are you like, we've got this dialed in. This is our bread and butter and we're going to keep things how they are. Like, what's your viewpoint on that?
I have a lot of different viewpoints on expansion and some other things. I think right now, how things are, I would never want to change how we are now. Now, I say that.
Yeah.
We've added 2 toppings. We added bacon and garlic over the last 25 years. So, like, that was my father and uncle's big staple that they changed. So, we're now up to, like, 9 toppings. I just think we're so unique, Erica. I mean, you don't go to places where people tell you no. Like we're in a catering society where everything has to be done that. And I don't see it. Now, when I go back to Italy, I'll tell you something funny. I was just talking to Steve from Stanislaus not long ago, and he did a really cool article about me. I volunteer my time when I know somebody. I will work 1 day free when I go to Italy when I have time. If it's a quick trip, I can't. But like when I'm there for a couple weeks, I'll go work with them just to see what they do. And the funny part is two of them have already offered me full time jobs because in Italy, that's a very prestigious job being a pizzaiolo. Because at the end of the day, you don't have a good pizza guy, you're not having a good product. And people, man, it is very, very political in Italy. They know when you're making the right pie. Now in Italy, it's a lot different. Everything is very fresh. So I'll share this with you. It doesn't, people think they know, but they really don't. Okay. How we make our dough and how we do it every day is the same for traditional purposes. Since day one, on Friday, we've been so busy that we use fresh dough, never sees oil, never sees a tin. It's right out of the box after 3.5 hours raised, and you're cooking. In Italy to this day, in most places, they still do that to this day. There's a catch. They do throw it away or they're doing it don't like doing specials because then everyone's gonna want a special 24 hours a day, but they do that, and to use that takes a skill. It's a touchy-feely thing. I mean, using fresh dough is a little bit different than using dough that has been in a fridge for 48 to 72 hours. It's a lot easier to work with when it's colder, and then you let it sit for 5 minutes. It is a lot easier. You can play with it and do a lot of different things. You don't know what you're doing with fresh dough, you're gonna be putting holes in that thing, and it's super soft, and you really need to know what you're doing. But a
Yep.
lot of them, that's what they do today. From going to the pizza convention, from when I started going a few years ago with my sister, there's always something new. There's always something to change. What I don't like about our business is I'm paranoid because I feel that if I did something like last year's pizza, that was apparently the number one pizza in the United States last year was a regular Neapolitan pie with pepperoni and Mike's hot honey. I hate honey and I hate that pizza and I would never eat it. But it's not about me, it's about what consumers want to eat. I couldn't do that here. It would take away from everything you're coming to visit me and see me with one day. You're just taking away the history. You're not, but then it falls back to a consistency thing. Tomorrow morning, if I have another shop, I would like to have specials where I do things like that. This guy at Stanislaus, Steve, he and I were talking with an interview he did with me one time, and he was very honest with me. He says, with as many times have I been to Italy, they are more subject to change than we are. And he's right. The number one and number two pizzas in Italy to this day, I will never eat this, and you probably will never eat this. It's not Italian, but they do. You're eating a regular Neapolitan pizza with prosciutto and hot dogs,
Yeah.
or hot
Seen
dogs
it.
and French fries on a pie. Like, we don't even do that here in the States, I don't think, but
Mm-mm.
they do. And you have to understand the flip side. When you have what's called an Americano Worcester, okay, which is an Italian pizza with a hot dog on it, it has American attached to it. I tell people all the time, you want to make money? Open a hot dog joint in Italy and say it's American hot dog stand. Like they'll go crazy for it. How you get the hot dogs, I don't know because nothing's in bulk there. But Erica, I would never do that. You would never do that. Most people will not eat that. Are you having a
No.
hot dog or are you having a pizza? You're not. But that's what is very popular. So that's how I see it. I mean, I do look at different trends. I do look at different things. I mean, I like the way they, do the way they do certain things. They do not use as much cheese as we do in the United States. Now, granted, buffalo mozzarella is a lot milkier. It's fresh. I mean, everything's fresh in Italy. The biggest thing that I learned from over there is how they use their fresh dough, how we use ours on a Friday. Look, we get it wrong sometimes too. In this business, there is no guarantees. Even if you're in New York City, even if you're in Philadelphia, there's no pizza place that I've ever seen, maybe you have, that is busy from open to close from 11 o'clock in the morning till 10. There is none.
No.
So there is downtime, right? Well, with that being said, what do you do in that downtime? When do you make your mix? When do you stretch your Sicilians? When do you do this stuff? When do you grind your cheese? There's a science to it. In Italy, I'm not gonna lie, it's very tough because everything has to be fresh. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the one place I worked at, they would not make slice pies, but they would sell you a slice pie on the counter. The catch is, if it wasn't fresh and it was there for so long, like the employees would eat it. And I'm like, it's kind of weird because they still shut down for their 2, 3 hour siesta. I'm thinking, can you imagine in the United States if you said you're gonna close from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But don't forget, they stay open from like 4 or 5 o'clock till like midnight. They eat a lot later than we do. But I mean, I'm just thinking like, and I can't understand it to this day. I don't. They do their dough, how they do their dough. And I mean, look, they're there every day. You're doing it every day. So you learn the trends and things like that. But God, it's hard. I mean, their busy day of the week is not Friday. Their busiest day of the week is Saturday because Sunday, although they don't go to church like we do here, is still God's day, family day, and everything else. So that's how they prepare for their rushes and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is there something that you want people to know about Nicolosis that they maybe don't know?
Look, simple is not simple is something that's frowned upon, but we're very simple.
Yeah.
Like, it is a hard business. It is a lot of work, but they always say bigger is better, right? And I don't always believe that. I think bigger sometimes can cause more problems. Most notably, we saw Erica with COVID. Like with COVID, these people, these big menus, they couldn't keep up. They couldn't afford employees because the employees weren't showing up. So they had to do all this other stuff. Like, we're pretty black and white. And I think it was really cool in our hometown for a while. And I still have a couple. I mean, there's a hot dog joint that only has hot dogs and French fries not far from us. You know, um, we had a cheesesteak place that only used to do cheesesteaks. They've expanded their menu a little bit, but not anything crazy. Like, these are all old places. They're older than we are. I mean, Johnny's Hot Dogs in Buttsville's 80 years old, and Joe's Steak Shop, I think, is like 85, 90 years old. Like, but they've
Wow.
kept it simple. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, people come in here all the time and they want all this crazy stuff, and we don't have it. And they're like, "There's no way that you're still in business." I go, "Well, it's 62 years and counting." And I think what is really cool is like every 5 years we have a banger here, and it's when the business opened up. And when we had our 60th anniversary, this was so cool. I never expected this. So we make dough for like for set up for like 4 hours. So it's like a dinner rush at like 11 o'clock. So we open at 11 and we closed at, I think 1 or 2 o'clock. And basically all that money went to charity. My grandfather, and I'm sure your parents always had a thing for handicapped children.
Yeah.
Anyone from Sicily that saw kids die because they couldn't afford food or everything else, that was always a very, very soft spot in his heart. So we donated everything for that time to the Children's Hospital of St. Jude's.
Hmm.
So this is what I want people to know about us. So I let my sister get involved in our social media stuff. And I knew it was time. We live in a transient city where a lot of people are coming and going. It's not how it was when you and I were kids. You were born in this town, you're raised in this town, you're going to have kids in this town, get married in this town. There's a lot of coming and going now. So people don't know. And I interviewed all these girls and they wanted to do for me what they thought was right, but not what I wanted them to do.
Yeah.
And social media does take up a lot of time, and it is a very big thing. If done right, needs to be handled correctly. So I put my lovely sister, who you've communicated with, in charge of this. And friends and family and business do not mix very well. There's always fights. People are yelling and screaming. People are getting mad, and yada yada yada. So
Yeah.
my first project for my sister was the 60th anniversary, and I said, Selena, I want 3 or 4 mayors, I want politicians, I want this, I want this. I was like, "This is what you gotta do, this is what you gotta do." And she really surprised me. Long story short, she made it about the Lehigh Valley because it is a battle of the bridge between Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and we are part of the Lehigh Valley that a lot of people don't recognize Phillipsburg being part of. Well, that little sister of mine became a rock star that day. She's helping out in everything that we had to do, and we had like 2,000 people show up. It was crazy. It started raining, and more people showed up. And what was news to me was she had a couple Pennsylvania mayors. She had like 15 mayors in New Jersey from other little towns surrounding us, and we had pictures. And I was like, you know, you never thank people enough. But I told people that was when my sister took on this whole new world. Now, with that being said, I can't tell you that I still don't curse her out after a Friday night because I get people calling during the rush saying, "Who's doing your social media? That stuff is incredible. It is so dumb and quirky, but that girl's great. She needs a raise and she needs this. We want to meet that girl." And I go, Selena, this needs to stop. Just tell the people to just direct message you. Like during the rush, we don't need these calls in the middle of making 10, 12 pies at a shot here. Like, but no, that is all Selena's baby. And I'm very proud of my sister. And it's kind of funny because she has her full-time job. But in the pizza world, you don't do this to make money. Like you better bleed, you better sweat, and you better cry because at the end of the day, you're going to go through all of them. And you're going to ruin relationships. You're gonna make new friends, but you're gonna please people and make people's lives too. And at the end of the day, my sister, although she's hardly ever touched dough, I mean, she knows how to cook and she's very good at that. Like she's not working in the industry, she's not sweating her tail off, but that is equally as important as any pie that I make or any piece of dough that goes in a tin. I give her all the credit. I do. She's doing very, very good. And there's a lot of people, new customers all the time. I mean, she's come up with ideas. I mean, you still have to think outside the box, but circle back, Erica, that you are a 60-year-old business. So you need to be very cautious with what you add or what you do or things like that. I mean, just little quirky things. And she comes in there and Selena is just as much a part of this as anyone in here sweating or cutting your finger with a knife or anything else. I mean, it is a job. And it's funny now because when I do things like meet people like you, or I go to a pizza convention, they want us to do other things. In the future, she wants us to get into competitions and stuff like that, which is going to take me away. So I got to make sure that people here know what they're doing and everything else. Well,
Yeah.
she knows all these people and and I know of them, but like she's actually communicating with them and she's not telling me she isn't there. So where's Selena? I'm like, she's there, but like I let her take the microphone and take the stage and run with it. So it is. I was very nervous doing it at first, but it was probably the best decision we've ever done because I don't know if that 60th anniversary would have been as wild and crazy as it was. So now I got people asking me when 65. Well, we got 3 more years for that. So, you know, there's cool.
That's incredible. Angelo, I really love this story. I mean, there's so many similarities between you and my family. And I want to tell the audience, guys, go and follow them on Instagram, Nicolosi's Pizza NJ. Where's the other places they can find you?
Selena is on TikTok.
Okay.
She is on Instagram. And, she's kind of kept that simple too. I mean, Selena has broadened her, she's expanded her, I'm not sure if I'm going to say it the right way, but like she's kind of outreach a lot. We're handing things out. I mean, it's not like a crazy thing. I mean, it's not a Facebook thing. It's not all this other jazz. And I mean, people are direct messaging her for other things, but those are basically it. I mean, like how we kept it simple. She has been technical with it, but simply technical, if you like simplified the technical part of it, if you will. She hasn't made it as crazy as you think. Like, I mean, there's not like a million different things there. I mean, she does put her posts quite, often there. And I think part of that was what was I was going for. There needs to be a repetitive thing, right? You're a 60-year-old business, but like I think people overdo it a little bit, Erica, with too many. But then I think you can't just put one and go back to it in 4 or 5 months. Like you need to constantly do this. I mean, the one that made headlines, which we're talking about not throwing things away, we did the we don't have pineapple as a topping, and I threw this slice away. With every good, Erica, goes a lot of bad. So we got like 200,000 views on that thing. Oh my God, the backlash she got. You threw a slice away. There's poor people in the world, blah, 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 blah. Like, you got to understand where we're going with this. And what people don't know is I gave that pie away to a poor guy in the projects after it was all said and done, but no one saw that. They just saw me throwing one slice away, so they thought the world was coming to an end. Like I said, Erica,
Yeah.
you're not gonna please everybody, but
Yeah,
is what it is.
absolutely true. Angela, thank you so much for being a guest. I've loved talking with you, and I can't wait to get this episode out.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate it.